Shavua Tov, Bagu Tevoch. Going to tell story number 52 of the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, the book of the praises of the Baal Shem Tov, the earliest known compilation of stories, gathering of stories of the Baal Shem Tov. The author of the book is Rav Dovid of the community of Linitz, and he says, always quoting where he hears the stories from, Shamati mibni Moreino harav Yehuda Leib sheichye. I heard from my son, our teacher Rav Yehuda Leib of Linitz, may he live. So the source of the story here, whom he heard from, was from his son. Shepam Achat, once Rav Hirtz, the Chassan, came from the community of Ostroh and heard from the great light Rav Dovid of Ostroh. So the son of the author heard from Rav Hirtz or Hirsch of Ostroh, who heard from Rav Dovid. Rav Isaac was the son of Rav Dovid of Ostroh, and he had a daughter. According to one edition of the book that I have, says that the daughter was 12 years old at the time of this story. Another version says 13. I don't know where they took this number from. I believe the number 12 is probably the most accurate of the original version of the book. So we're talking, the author of the book, his son tells a story that he heard from Rav Hirtz, who came from the community of Ostroh, who heard from Rav Dovid. Rav Dovid of Ostroh has a son called Rav Isaac, and Rav Isaac has a daughter who is sick. That is the story. Okay, that's how we get. And how do we know this story? From this Rabbi Hertz, who is the brother-in-law of this Rabbi Isaac, right? Who tells Rabbi Hertz, who tells a story to the son of the author. Okay, a bit complicated, but always going straight to how the story got to him. This is a story that happened to Rabbi Isaac, the son of the mentioned Rav Dovid of Ostroh. They had a daughter who was 12 years old, and she became sick. When the Baal Shem Tov was visiting the community of Zaslavel, today called Zaslavel, a nearby community in the region of southern Volhynia, and they came to show the Baal Shem Tov this patient, this young girl who is sick. The girl was already married. This is kind of a shocker for modern listeners to the story, but remember, we're talking the first half of the 18th century, where such early youth marriages were commonplace. So the Baal Shem Tov comes to see this girl who is sick, and Rav Isaac has already called for a female doctor, and the female doctor is requested to put leeches to extract some blood to treat the patient. The Baal Shem Tov said no, not that this was not the procedure. He said to open her meridian. I had to look that up. Basically, a treatment for hemorrhoids. So the woman doctor is saying to put leeches. The Baal Shem Tov says no, do something else. Rav Isaac, which we mentioned, who was a wealthy man, was not too sure to trust the advice of the Baal Shem Tov. So he asked this female doctor when she served a wealthy nobleman in the city to come, and she said that we do the treatment of leeches even for small children, even if she does have a problem with hemorrhoids. This is what we do. And so Rav Isaac had her come for the treatment. The Baal Shem Tov was staying with Rav Dovid. Rav Dovid used to be the Abbas Din of the community of Ostroh in early days, so he was known as Rav Dovid of Ostroh. And Rav Hirsch, who was the son-in-law, went with the Baal Shem Tov to the house of Rav Isaac through the passageway where the horses were quartered. The Baal Shem Tov went from one horse to the other. He tapped them and decided that he liked one horse in particular. And he said to me, to Rav Hertz, "Hertz, is it possible to sell me this horse?" Rav Hertz answered that he did not know. They entered the house. The Baal Shem Tov said to Rav Isaac, "Sell me that horse." He answered, "Our Rabbi, Rabbeinu, lo tachmoit, you should not covet." So the Baal Shem Tov treats him down below, tells him, "You fool, I covet it, I want it. Don't try to teach me how to keep Torah." But he did not want to sell the horse. Afterwards, the Baal Shem Tov saw the nurse, and he said to Rav Isaac, "Don't you have another woman in town that could have called besides this?" He used an expression that I had a hard time. Bo'ala dazeh, this evil woman, apparently. This is not a good person. Could you call someone else? But she was very important and respected lady in town, and she did what she said was needed to be done, and she operated on the girl's piles. But in spite of this, she did not recover. The Baal Shem Tov basically saw with his Ruach HaKodesh that this is not the right person to treat the girl. The Baal Shem Tov went home with Rav Isaac. Rav Isaac went home, and Rav Isaac took his daughter to the Kedarim, to the Tartars, in the community of Constantine, and the Baal Shem Tov heard about it, so Baal Shem Tov himself, went to the community of Constantine by himself, and he said to Rav Isaac, angrily, "Why did you do this to me?" Rav Isaac promised that he would return home, but he didn't really mean to do so. When Rav Isaac saw that the Kedarim were not able to improve the girl's condition, then he went back home with the girl. So he basically had to be convinced by experience, even though the Baal Shem Tov was telling him not to do this. Second time that he doesn't listen to the Baal Shem Tov, and they're trying healing procedures that are useless. Now once, as Shabbos was coming close, the girl felt very, very sick. And Rabbeinu Rav Dovid of Ostroh made a loud sound, rash. He gathered the melamdim, the teachers, and started asking them to recite the Tehillim, meaning the melamdim would bring their children, the young children, to recite the Tehillim. In Shabbos, they changed the name of the girl, apparently by the Sefer Torah in Shabbos morning. Also, they sent a letter to Mezhibush through a non-Jewish messenger to go on a horse on Shabbos from community to place, so that he would travel in Shabbos to ask the Baal Shem Tov to pray for the girl. The non-Jewish messenger arrived to Mezhibush Shabbos morning before Musaf, after the Torah had been read, and delivered the message. After Shabbos, the Baal Shem Tov sent a letter asking Rabbi Yaakov of Anipoli to write down So by then, it was no longer, we mentioned who the Sofer of the Baal Shem Tov was. This time, the man who wrote for the Baal Shem Tov was Rav Yaakov of Anipoli. And the letter of the Baal Shem Tov says, this is written Motzi Shabbos, after the conclusion of the holiday of Shabbos. I received this letter before Musaf and I prayed out loud, but I did not get any response from Shamayim, not even half a word. This only happens to me. I do not know what happens to me, rather. It would only happens when I have blessed, but she uses now a new name. I'm calling with a wrong name. I'm trying to connect to Shamayim for this healing, and the name is not right. If this is the case, let me know the new name immediately. Sorry, we always get these sirens in the corner where I live, especially when I'm trying to record. It gives the idea of an emergency call, right? For the healing of the girl. Ashgacha pratis. So the Baal Shem Tov wants to give the prayer that would heal the girl, but it's not connecting right. Obviously, they changed the name by the reading of the Torah with a Mishaberach. The Shaliach, the Gentile messenger, arrived right after the Torah had been read in Mesibush. So he was sent before the prayers in Shabbos in order to have the time to travel. So he only brought the old name, not the new name that was given to the girl. At last it was learned that the girl was pregnant, and she recovered after she gave birth. I have not asked a doctor what illness is this, with the treatments that they're recommending according to the medicine of the time, that after she gives birth, she would recover. Sometime later, the Baal Shem Tov came to the community of Saslab, and Rabbi Isaac said to him, you knew of the need to call a nurse, and you knew she had a new name. Why didn't you tell me also that she was pregnant? And the Baal Shem Tov tells him, you think that she was also pregnant? She conceived from my prayer and from your father's prayer. Meaning, in the merit of our prayers, she was able to conceive, and then through that she was healed. The letter the Baal Shem Tov sent was in the handwriting of Rav Yaakov of Anipoli. It's a story about, obviously, the visionary of the Baal Shem Tov, the Ruach HaKodesh, how he saw what was the right treatment, how he caused something to happen to this girl. It's not that she magically got pregnant, obviously, she was his husband, but that this was what actually healed her, and how the Baal Shem Tov knew that when a name is changed, as he said in the Mishaberach prayer for the sick, it didn't connect with the heavens because the name had been changed. We all should get the right blessings from Hashem to our right identity with our right names, and have a good and blessed week. Shavua Tov, a good Tevach.